Welcome to DesignerDigitals Bi-Weekly Tip, August 3rd, 2018. This week, how to turn pattern paper into pencil sketched paper in Photoshop and Elements. One of the best things about digital scrapbooking is the versatility of the kit components. With just a few clicks of the mouse, you can totally change the look of a digital paper, expanding your design options for each kit that you own. One way to change a digital paper is to convert it to black and white. But then you can take that idea one step further by transforming the design into pencil sketched art. Here's how. Open a piece of digital patterned paper. This technique will work with most pattern papers, but it's especially effective with picture patterns like leaf papers or flower papers, or this floral from Katie Pertitte's Patterning Palettes number 3 at DesignerDigitals. Press Ctrl J on the keyboard. On the Mac system, that's Command J to duplicate the paper. So over in the Layers palette now, you'll see that you've got two pieces of pattern paper stacked on top of one another. Target the top layer and convert it to black and white by pressing Ctrl Shift U, or on a Mac system, that's Command Shift U on the keyboard. Press Ctrl Shift L. On a Mac system, that's Command Shift L to perform an auto levels adjustment. At this point, you can save the black and white paper as a JPEG file by selecting File, Save As, and then choosing JPEG for the type and giving the pattern paper a new name because you don't want to accidentally overwrite the original. But to turn the paper into a pencil sketch, you'll continue by adjusting the levels. So press Ctrl L, or on a Mac system, that's Command L on the keyboard. This opens the levels dialog box. Drag the white point marker, that's the one over on the right side, to the left. This cleans up the texture and it makes the image sharper. It's particularly important if the design has a heavy texture or a background design. Experiment with the other sliders to get a crisp image. It's really hard for me to tell you what to do because this will be slightly different for each paper based on the paper art and the original colors. So play with the sliders until you get a good, crisp, sharp image. And then click OK. Next, duplicate the top black and white layer by clicking the layer and then pressing Ctrl J or Command J on your keyboard. And now you'll have two black and white papers on top of the original color design. Target the new top layer and change the blending mode to color dodge. The blending mode drop-down menu is located at the top of the layers panel and it's set to normal by default, but you'll change it to color dodge. With the top paper still selected, press Ctrl I. On a Mac system, that's Command I on the keyboard to create the inverse. Now at this point, don't freak out because the pattern disappears and the top layer in the Layers panel changes it to the opposite or the inverse of the middle layer. To bring the design back as a sketch, select the top layer and choose Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. This opens up the Gaussian Blur dialog box. Begin by moving the little slider all the way to the left and your paper disappears again. Slowly drag that slider to the right, watching the paper in your editing window. Stop sliding when the sketch design appears, but not so far that the design looks simply black and white again. If I go all the way over, you'll see that it just looks like the original. When you're satisfied with the results, click OK. The next step is to merge the layers onto a new layer by pressing Alt-Control-Shift-E. On a Mac system, that's going to be Option-Command-Shift-E on your keyboard. This creates a new merged layer at the top of the Layers panel. And with this new layer selected, press Ctrl J, or on a Mac system, Command J on the keyboard to duplicate it. So you're going to have the original colored image, a black and white image, an inverse image, and then 2 copies of the merged layers at the very top. Select the top layer and change the blending mode to linear burn. Remember that the blending modes are above the layers panel. If the effect is too strong, you can always move the opacity slider at the top right of the layers panel to reduce that linear burn a little bit. This helps accentuate the edges of the sketchy designs. Save the black and white paper as a JPEG, changing the name again to avoid overwriting the original paper. Sketched papers make a really interesting addition to your digital kits, and they can be used to match photos that have difficult color schemes. This technique allows you to use and reuse your favorite pattern papers even if the paper colors are incompatible with your project. It's a great way to stretch your scrapbooking budget and multiply your design choices. Thanks so much for watching this week's video, and be sure to check back in 2 weeks for another Designer Digitals tip.